the NFC division winners, some Earl Thomas news, and some breaking news we just had before I started recording. Let's kick it off with the breaking news. Eric Decker is going to sign with the New England Patriots. Him and Tom Brady might be the best looking duo in the NFL today. And with what that'll mean for their team is, I don't know. I don't know how much Decker's got left in the tank. He didn't look that great in Tennessee, but no one really on offense looked that great from Tennessee. So we'll have to wait and see. And we're just going to switch right into some Earl Thomas talk. Now, with Earl Thomas, I kind of feel like he is trying to get what he wants by doing exactly nothing he should do. And with why I'm saying this is because I think he should be reporting in training camp. And everyone's going to say, why? He needs to hold out for money. No one's going to invest money in him if they don't know what he looks like. Seahawks want him in training camp so they know what he looks like if they're going to offer him a contract extension. Teams that want to trade for him want to know what he looks like before they invest anything into him. No one gets what they want without a little work. Earl Thomas needs to put in some work and go to training camp, I believe. He would set a better example for himself, and he would show that this money just isn't as important. He would like to win a bit more. We'll find out in due time if that's his actual decision. If he's going to sit out any regular season games would hurt him, but I don't believe he will. We'll have to find out. And to the fun part, NFC division winners. Now, we're going to kick off with the NFC North. Up in the North, we have the Vikings, Packers, Lions, Bears. Now, all of them, they all have their flaws and their strengths. Some are a bit more increased in the flaws, and some are a bit more increased in the strengths. So we're going to start off with the first place team, and I think that will be the Minnesota Vikings. And this is kind of the most obvious division winner, I feel like, hands down. They have the best defense, the best O-line, the best running backs, the best wide receivers. All across the board, they are the best in the division. The only position they are not the best in, that's quarterback, but in your division with Aaron Rodgers, you kind of expect that. And overall, they should have some great progression. The only worry I have for the Vikings is a change in offense coordinator. But we'll find out if that's going to change everything or not. Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs should have both good years again. They're getting Dalvin Cook back, which is scary. Then you have Latavius Murray, Kyle Rudolph. And then they acquired Sheldon Richardson in the offseason. This Vikings team is loaded, and they are right now my pick to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Second place, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions at second place. They have improved their running attack. They have improved their offensive line. They have improved the defensive line by just getting healthy. Overall, this team should be a lot better than they were last year in the trenches. That's a given when you get rid of Greg Robinson. But overall, they had a lot of injuries on their offensive line. They got a lot of guys back, but they also added Frank Ragnow, I believe was their first-round pick, and then Kerryon Johnson. With the additional LeGarrette Blount as well, should help improve that Lions rush attack power a lot more than it's been in the past. And you look at the receivers. Got Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, and Kenny Galladay. Those are some really good receivers. And then you have the quarterback leading the charge in Matthew Stafford. Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. I don't know if he's great. We haven't seen him get to that great level. We haven't seen him reach that elite level. I think he can this year, and I hope he does. Third. Now, the reason why I had this team staying at third is because their quarterback will carry them to not last place. Otherwise, this team would be last place if he goes down, and that's the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers have the best quarterback with the fourth best team in the division. So Rodgers will win them a couple games. There's no doubt about it. He does that all the time for Green Bay. It's kind of sad how it's gone, but it's how it always will be. Rodgers will carry a bad team. And you look at it, he lost Jordy Nelson, but acquired Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham's a nice addition. That's not too bad. Then you look at the defensive side, they had two nice cornerbacks in the draft. And you also have a pretty good defensive coordinator, in my opinion, in Mike Pettit, who did a good job in Cleveland, which people forget. But overall, I don't see the Packers reaching the top brass in the NFC this year. The NFC is so loaded that they have a lot of work to do. They have to get people around Rodgers. And they're starting it this year, and it's going to continue. We'll have to find out how this front office does in years' time, but right now it's off to a good start, I think. And in 4th place, I have the Chicago Bears. And the reason why I have the Bears here is I trust their quarterback the least. We know the least about Mitchell Trubisky. We know pretty much nothing about Matt Nagy with what offense they're going to have. We don't know if he's calling the plays or if they're having an offensive coordinator call the plays. We don't know. We don't know all around the board. And the only thing I have confidence in the Bears is that they'll have a good defense. They've had that the past couple of years. Their offense just hasn't been able to control the ball, which has kind of let them be a bit tired. You watched a lot of Bears games last year, though. They were a fun defense to watch. All over the place, getting to the ball. John Fox did a great job of coaching them up. It'll be interesting to see if they decrease a bit after losing Fox and replacing him with Nagy. But that should be expected when a guy's focusing on defense mainly and a guy's focused on offense mainly. They have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, a very good back set. The addition of Trey Burton, I do like. Allen Robinson, coming off an ACL injury, will be interesting. Don't get me wrong. And they drafted Anthony Miller out of Memphis. And he's a nice young player. Should be interesting to watch him develop. And now we're going to go to the NFC South. With the first place in the NFC South, I have the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, in my opinion, could be neck and neck with the Vikings. And the reason why I'm going to say they might have a shot at being the Vikings is their quarterback at the helm, Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the smartest in the NFC. He's probably got the most accurate touch. I would say Rodgers has the better arm and Brees has the better touch. And let's not forget, Brees defies expectations throughout his entire career. I think a lot of people are expecting to have the Vikings and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Drew Brees defies expectations, let alone their defense is young and improving, and you got Cameron Jordan, that defensive line. You got a nice running back set, a nice offensive line. This team should improve and should be going upwards instead of downwards. Number 2, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the reason why I like the Falcons a bit more than the Panthers is I have more stability on the offensive line, and I have more stability at the quarterback position. And we'll get into that in a second. But the reason why I'm talking about stability on the offensive line is important when you have running backs that like to move around a bit more in the backfield, like a Tevin Coleman. Or if you have a power back that's just going to go straight through it, like a Devontae Freeman. And also give your quarterback enough time to throw the ball. That's huge. If he can get a good 5 seconds every other snap, you got Julio, Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu. That's a lot of talent on the field. They should be able to score a lot of points this year. I don't see how Steve Sarkisian can mess up this year. Then you look at the defensive side. They lost Adrian Claiborne. That's a big loss. I'm not going to play that like it's nothing. It's a big loss. And you're going to have to figure out a way to replace him. But you do have Vic Beasley, who is getting bigger and stronger. And you do have Takk McKinley, who we didn't see much of last year. At least I didn't. But he is interesting to watch and see how he develops year to year. And with the nice young secondary improving, of course, with Trufant, Neal, all those guys, they'll improve. They'll get better. They should be good. They should be in the playoffs. And 3, the Carolina Panthers. And the reason why I'm not big on the Panthers this year, it's not because of Cam Newton. It's not really because of their defense. We're going to get into that in a second. But it's because I don't trust that offensive line. That offensive line is horrible. I don't think it will do much. They lost their best player in Andrew Norwell. I don't know anyone else in the offense line. Maybe the Cleo brothers are still there. If they are, please tell me if I'm correct. But that's it. They have no way to protect Cam. And Norv Turner, he's not going to be running around with Cam. He's going to want Cam to throw it. He's going to want Cam to gun it out. Their receiving core, nothing special. You got Torrey Smith and a guy they drafted out of Maryland who is a speed threat. Speed threats are not known for their good hands. If they can get past the defense, that's great. But if they drop it, that's bad. And we're going to see most of this offense, if it is to succeed, Christian McCaffrey needs to take that step forward. He needs to become that guy. And we need to see it this year, or else the Panthers might need to go another direction with their offense. Instead of a bit more of a pass happy, do you go a bit more ground, or do you maybe look at what the Seahawks did? Go try to look for an offensive line. It killed them for the years that they've been bad. And now that they're actually focusing on offensive line, it might actually improve. It might help out their MVP type quarterback. The Panthers need to do this before it's too late, and Cam Newton's just a battered veteran at that rate. And we're going to get to the Buccaneers at number 4. The Bucs have so many questions. The main one is Jameis Winston. What are they doing with Winston? All of that. There's so much. And I don't know. I don't know if they'll resign him. I don't know. It's a coin flip. The good thing is they do have a good backup quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick. And that's really what you need in the NFL, is a good backup quarterback. If you can have that, if your starter goes down, you at least have stability back there. And their defense, I'm expecting improvement on the defensive line. That's it. I'm expecting to see Vita Vea be a really good player, and Jason Pierre-Paul be able to help out a lot. And their offensive line, it was injured last year. We'll have to see if they improved it or not. And the receiving corps, it's got Mike Evans. Mike Evans should be able to do something. And they did draft Ronald Jones, who is an interesting player. He is a Doug Martin type player. And I think it'll be a lot more interesting to see how they use him compared to how they used Doug last year. And let's get into the NFC East. I'm not going with the favorite pick. I'm not going with the Eagles to win the division. I'm not going with the Giants, nor am I going with the Cowboys. I'm taking the Washington Redskins to win the NFC East and make the playoffs. I love Alex Smith. I think Alex Smith is a top 10, sometimes a top 5 QB in the NFL. He is elite, and he is by far more than a game manager. No matter what people want you to believe, watch him play, look at his statistics. It's phenomenal of how well he's played year in, year out. Since really, I would say, the Niners actually put some guys around him. Let's not forget, Alex Smith had no one when he started off his career. He had a bad head coach, and he had bad players around him. Those Niners teams were horribly managed. And when he started to get good players, they won. Now when he went to KC, he had a good coach. He had stability there. He had good players around him. They won. In his time KC, they only missed the playoffs once, and they were over 500. Think about that. And overall, the Redskins, they improved their defensive line. They've improved their secondary. They've improved their offense line. They have decent receivers. This is a big year for Josh Doctson. For the Redskins to win the division, he needs to step up, and I think he can make that next step. But we will have to see in due time, and it's going to be interesting. We're going to look at preseason games. Don't jump off the bandwagon of a team during preseason game. I'm just going to tell you. But do know some little details when the starters are out there. Doctson will be interesting to see, and he does have a shoulder injury. I did see. Time will tell how serious it is. Now, the second place team, I'm picking the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not buying into the defending Super Bowl champions hype. Unless you're the Patriots, you have to prove that to me that you can do it regularly. The Patriots can always do it. Can the Eagles always do it? We will find out this year. But without Carson Wentz week 1, that kind of scares me. And you're going to say Nick Foles is a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But he's good in a certain system. We've seen him, if he's out of his comfort zone, he struggles quite a bit. And if the Falcons can take him out of that comfort zone week 1, if they do play Foles instead of Wentz, I think a lot of teams will realize how to play Foles, and the Eagles can be downhill from there. Dan Quinn's no idiot. He knows how to manage defense. And now you look at it, their defensive line, you can say they got better with Michael Bennett, but they also got older. Age isn't always the best thing to acquire in the NFL. You want guys who are in their prime with a couple of years left, not guys who pretty much maybe if they're lucky have one more year left in their prime, or they're just done. And their secondary, the big key to their secondary is Sidney Jones. If Sidney Jones can be what everyone thought he was coming out of the draft, I expect him to be fine. But if he's not, I see a lot of issues. But let's get to third place, the New York Giants. The Giants, I don't know how to feel. They have Saquon Barkley, who should be a top player for Rookie of the Year. He should be. But they also have a lot of issues. Odell, he's got a lot of arrogance to him. If he'll play to his vanity point, we'll have to see in that department. Eli Manning is getting older. His body took a lot of abuse last year behind that offensive line, which they did improve. And another reason why I like the Giants more than the Cowboys right now, I like their front office, how they've built the team. I like Dave Gettleman. I like Dave Gettleman a lot, and I think Gettleman can help merge this team into kind of what the Panthers were before he got fired. And their defense, they did lose Jason Pierre-Paul, and they do have some issues in the secondary with Eli Apple, Janoris Jenkins. There's so much you can go into there, but I'm not in the locker room. I don't know there, so I'm just going to stay out of that. But the biggest concern I have for the Giants is Pat Shurmur as a coach. He's failed once. Can he succeed this time? In fourth place. Now, Cowboys fans, don't be mad at me. Be mad at Jerry Jones. Be mad at the guys who built this team. Because they were so worried about offense, they forgot some defensive help would be nice. And Leighton Vander Esch, I did like him coming out of the draft. I do think he'll be good. But his first couple of years, I'm not expecting much out of him. With a neck injury, I'm expecting him to kind of gradually increase. Third, fourth year, I'll expect a big breakout year. But these first 2 years, I'm not really expecting a lot from him. Sean Lee is older. Sean Lee is getting injured. Sean Lee's body is breaking down on him. He can't do this for long. I don't expect him to do this for long. And you got no secondary help. You got no defensive line help. Your defense will be bottom 5 in the league at this rate. Unless some guys make some major improvements, your team will be bottom 5 in points allowed, total yards. It will not be pretty. And the offense is fine. I have no problem with Dak Prescott. I have no problem with Ezekiel Elliott. Their offensive line should be good unless all of a sudden they all suffer injuries, which can happen if you're offensive lineman. It is pretty easy with guys rolling up on your legs. But bar no injuries, their offensive line should be fine. Their running back should be good. Their quarterback should be good. The only question you have on the Cowboys offense, who's their star receiver? It's Allen Hurns right now, but you can argue, did the receiving corps get better? It's the exact same group you had with Dez Bryant last year. And Dez Bryant's no longer a number 1. Allen Hurns had some pretty good games last year. I would say they've improved from last year, but still need a lot of work to be done. And we're going to look now at the NFC West to wrap it up today. And number 1, the Los Angeles Rams, but I have my concerns. This might change for me when I do this based off a quarter in a season of how I think it'll go. This might flip-flop from week to week with me on the Rams. And my concern is too many cooks in the kitchen. It's an old saying, when too many heads are in one space. Akeem Talib, Marcus Peters, Ndamukong Suh, that just scares me a bit. And Wade Phillips, he might be the best guy to manage all of them together. He might be the best guy to merge all of them together to create a fine-tuned working machine. He might be the best answer in the league to handle that. And look, their offense should be fine. As long as Andrew Whitworth doesn't regress off a cliff, they should be fine. They did lose Sammy Watkins. They acquired Brandon Cooks. Gave him a contract I don't like. I think that contract's way overvaluing him. But hey, and you did re-sign Todd Gurley, so at least you have the face of the offense. And before anyone gets happy about, oh, Goff's the face, Todd Gurley's the face of your offense. Aaron Donald's the face of your team. Let's not just cut corners. Those two are your best players. They might not be the most marketable, but those two are your best players. Gurley's maybe more marketable than Goff. We'll find out in due time. But you look at this overall, the concern with the Rams should be too many cooks in the kitchen. And can they re-sign Aaron Donald? If they lose Aaron Donald and they don't win the Super Bowl this year was kind of really bad if you look at it. And second place, I'll take the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason why I'm going to take the Seahawks is because this is the exact same team they had last year. And you're going to say, no, it's not. They all got rid of all these. These guys were injured by midway point of the season. I'm not too worried. So Pete's been able to work with these guys consistently. They're young. They're improving. Shaquille Griffin should be a breakout name this year, I expect. Along with the names of Frank Clark and Jarran Reed. Those should be some names you should get familiar with really fast. Anybody from Alabama should tell you Jarran Reed is awesome. And then you look at it overall. Justin Coleman had a good year last year. He should replace Jeremy Lane, no problem. The toughest position they're going to have to replace is Cam Chancellor. And that's no question. When you lose the heart of your defense, it's hard to replace. That's not something you can just replace overnight. That takes some years to develop. And if they can, if Bobby steps up to the next role, or if KJ Wright can do it, maybe even Earl Thomas, he puts this aside and just jumps in and decides to take on that role. There's so many different ways the Seahawks defense can do it, but it's not going to come down to their defense. This is not a defensive team anymore. It's trying to be, but this is Russell Wilson's team. This team will live or die by Russell Wilson. And you know what the Seahawks did? They re-signed Dwayne Brown. They acquired offensive line help. They acquired a running back. This team now knows, their GM Schneider knows, it's a Russell Wilson team. Russell Wilson is the best player on the Seahawks and might arguably be the best quarterback in the NFL in a couple of years' time. Let's get to the 49ers. And the reason why I had the 49ers just above the Cardinals, and it's not like it's a big step above them. It's like a hairline fracture above them. It's tiny. And Niners fans, I'm sorry if you don't want to hear this. You guys aren't ready to compete yet. I'm not buying the Garoppolo hype based off a couple hot games stretch. If he does it throughout the year, I'll eat my words. But I'm not buying this big contract they gave him. I probably would have actually franchise tagged him this year before I gave him a big deal like that. And now you're going to look at it. You got mediocre offensive line, mediocre running backs, and a mediocre wide receiver group. If Garoppolo can put up Pro Bowl numbers, I'll believe him being elite. If he can put up good numbers, I'll believe him being a great player. He does not have the best core around him. And their defense is probably going to be their best part this year, is their front seven. Their secondary needs a lot of work still, but that front seven, they have built it up. They have spent picks in the trenches for a couple of years. They have been building up that front seven, and they are ready to go. And it will be interesting to see how big of a step they take forward. I'm not expecting aggression for the Niners. They should be able to take a step forward. But we'll see. And Reuben Foster is a big key to this. He needs to not only play smart off the field, but on the field as well. And finally, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, they're to me, I don't know what to think of them. They're like, are they competing? Are they trying to rebuild? Are they playing Sam Bradford week one, or are they playing Josh Rosen? I personally play Bradford because Bradford's a good teacher, I've heard. He knows how to work with quarterbacks, and apparently a lot of teams want him to be like a coach when he's done. So that'll be something to keep your eyes on. And overall, their defense, I mean, Chandler Jones is a beast. Patrick Peterson, I don't know what to think of this team. I don't. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, but yet they still look good on paper. I have them fourth right now because I like the NFC West. I don't know who's going to be the best team out of it. It looks like the Rams, but it could be any of these teams, in my opinion, based off how they're built. It's going to be an interesting division to watch this year. And especially if some injuries happen to, I'm just going to say, if Gurley was to get hurt or just a name from the Rams, they fall back and they could be middle of the pack to worst team in the division. That's how all-around talent this division has. And I would expect the last place team in the division to have a 6-10 record. I'm not saying it's going to be by a bad team. It's going to be because these guys just beat up on each other. And it was just overall competitive. Cardinals have a good defense. They'll help them win a couple games. I don't expect them to get swept by the Niners or Rams. Same with the Seahawks. It'll be interesting to watch. And until we see week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, this is all speculation. But right now, my division winners for the NFC are the New Orleans Saints, Washington Redskins, Minnesota Vikings, and LA Rams. And that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed. And everybody, just rejoice. Football is back, and life is so much better.